Hi guys, this is Klazart bringing another audio commentary, and this is Game 4 of the Best of 7 series matchup between Savior and Flash, with Savior 3-0 up in the lead. Wow, insane. This is being played on Ngaro Crater, and it's a map I don't think I've actually ever seen a single game played on this map before. That being said, maybe I've commented on one in the past, I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of game plays out on this map. So far, Savior has been showing glimpses, and I am being very cautious and perhaps a little bit overly pessimistic here, but I'm not yet fully convinced that Savior is back to his best, and I think it might, but at the very least I think this is probably a step on the ladder back to his best. It's a step on the ladder to building his confidence. He knows he can beat, if he can beat currently the best Terran player playing StarCraft right now 3 times in a row, I think that says a lot for Savior. However else the rest of the series continues. Flash obviously is going to be hurting a little. I'm sure his pride is smarting a little bit, having established himself as one of the more dominating players in StarCraft right now. I think it's probably a little bit embarrassing, to say the least, for him to be losing to, albeit the Maestro, but a player who is certainly not considered to be in form and in his prime right now as far as StarCraft skill goes. But that being said, you know, players flit in most sports. Players flitter in and out of form. It's not been that long if we think in realistic terms. I think the problem is that because a StarCraft season lasts only 3 to 4 months, and we have 3 to 4 seasons in a year, we sort of think, oh my god, this player, you know, is slumping, has been slumping for a while. When you think about it, it's actually not that long a period. Savior looks like he's fast expanding, taking his natural expo. Savior starting up, obviously playing Zerg in green at the 6 o'clock position, Flash in red at the 3 o'clock position. Savior scouting anti-clockwise, his Overlord unfortunately going in the wrong direction. Flash sending his first SCV out. It'll be interesting to see whether he's going to what he's planning to do with it, whether he's just sending it out to scout or whether he's going to start a command center. It looks like Flash is fast expanding, so Flash putting on his command center as well. So Flash going straight for the expansion, and had Savior's Overlord gone in the right direction, he might have been able to wean some advantage from that, might have been able to put a little bit of pressure on Flash. As it is, by the time he discovers that command center, Flash will probably be, and Flash now starting up his first rack. So this is a little bit reminiscent of Game 2, where Flash went for the command center before going for the barracks, but on this occasion I think Flash is probably going to be okay, because Savior's first of all scout is not going to really arrive in time, and it's a long distance anyway from there to Flash's base, and Savior now setting the drone. It looks like Savior's actually heading towards the north base, towards the north end of the map, as opposed to Flash, where Flash's base, and that's going to delay him even a little further. He's getting that spawn. He's now put the third Hashi down, so this looks like it's going to be a more balanced standard game here between these two players. Neither the player, I don't think neither of the players has been afforded a huge advantage from their starting strategies. That being said, it's important to put a Terran player, when they fast expand, under pressure and make them exact some sort of price from them for putting that. So while the players are getting up, and Savior now just starting up his expansion, and while the starting gambits are going on, I just wanted to apologize to you guys for taking so long to get this game out to you guys. As I said, I had a pretty busy weekend and I had stuff to do yesterday as well. So I apologize for that, for taking so long to get Game 4 out to you. But yeah, I think so far in the games we've seen sort of early game advantages translating into late game wins. Game 3 was probably the most balanced game that we've seen, but even then it was on a map that I do feel can favor the Zerg player, Shin Peaks of Baektoon. We have seen some great StarCraft, particularly from Savior on that map, and he would certainly have been more familiar than Flash on it. Savior is only now going to get that scout in, and unable to deny the scout to Flash. Flash meanwhile has got his defense up, he's got a bunker up, and he's going to have a couple of Marines in there. So Savior's not even going to be able to get past that to get into Flash's base and scout his tech further on, whereas Flash has gotten his SCV in and seen that layer going up. So the scouting advantage is certainly with Flash early on in the game. And this is one of the things that I kind of like about StarCraft, and at the same time it annoys me a little bit, the role that sort of luck can play in it. Not so much so your choice of starting strategies, but literally just the direction which you scout in. Scouting, if Savior scouted clockwise and didn't find Flash's base, had he scouted anti-clockwise, he would have seen that Flash was fast expanding and might have been able to adapt his strategy accordingly. Might have gotten 6 lings in there earlier in, and decided to build a few early lings and pressure Flash a little bit, maybe hurt a couple of SCVs, slow him down, put him under a little bit of pressure, and buy himself a little bit of time, which obviously he's not being able to do. That being said, this should be a fair even game. The other thing is that Savior hasn't denied Flash the scout, and that's something that Savior consistently has failed to do. This time he is going to deny the scout, so he's gotten that sunken up now. But I think it was a little bit of a failure on Savior's part, because he got the 3 hatches up, he was at the stage where he was starting up his lair, and yet he allowed Flash to just waltz in. And I think Savior of old, and these are just little differences that I noticed between the Savior of old and Savior today. Savior of old would have fought tooth and nail before allowing an opponent into his base to get a scout off. Savior today hasn't really done that. He did stop that SCV getting in the second time around. Flash, meanwhile, taking out the neutral building behind his natural expo. So both players look like they're willing to go for a heavy macro game, and I think it's gonna again come down to that Mutalist harass from Savior. And Flash has got a decent group of Marines up on his ramp now, and it's going to be very difficult for Savior to get a scout in. He's immediately sensing that Flash might be going for some sort of a medic and Marine push here, even though he hasn't had the chance to scout the 2 racks. And it is good play by Savior, because Flash has got the academy up, he's getting the engineering bay up. But nevertheless, again, this is something that is a little bit not really reminiscent of the old Savior. Getting those Sunkens up so early, usually he waits until he manages to get a scout in or something, and waits until he has a little bit more information before committing himself to spending those resources. This time he has spent those resources, and usually he has maybe a group of Zerglings, and a group of Zerglings might have served to keep Flash's medic and Marine group back in his base, with the threat of harassment, with the threat of Savior circling around, and Savior wouldn't have necessarily needed to expend resources on those 3 extra Sunkens. As it is, all Flash has done is push a little bit forward from his base. He hasn't really made any advances on Savior, and yet Savior's built about 3 or 4 Sunkens. And again, that to me is Savior's always been the kind of Zerg player who has always treaded the line between what is safe and what is risky, and he seems to have made it into an art form and his speciality. Flash now getting those turrets up in anticipation of the Mutalist harass. He's getting 3 turrets behind the mineral line of his main, and he's got loads of space. This map is so much easier to defend against Mutalist harass. There's so much space behind the mineral line to get those medic and Marines in play and have them backed up by the turrets, and I'm not sure how effective Savior's Mutalist harass is going to be here. Savior's got those Mutalist outs, and Savior really does rely very heavily on his Flash getting the scans off in the right places at the right time. He scanned the Spire first, now he scanned the Mutalist. He knows exactly what's coming, and Flash using his scans to maximum advantage, and they're paying off for him. See, again, those 3 Sunkens for Savior, did he really need them? He's now going to rely on the Mutalist, obviously, to get that 4th expansion up, get that 3rd gas going, that 4th hatchery and the 3rd gas going. The question is whether or not he's going to be able to achieve that. Bringing in a couple of Zerglies to try and take that 1 turret out to give him some sort of avenue for attack. He's managed to pick up one of the turrets. Flash has got a big bunch of SCVs around that 2nd turret, but Savior still managed to take it out, and he's now got for that natural expo, which is a little bit more vulnerable than the main. There's a little less space there to maneuver, and so Savior doing some decent amount of damage there. He needs to pick that SCV and stop that turret from coming up. So Savier's going to stop Flash from getting any turrets, and Savior, decent harass here, has picked off about 3 or 4 SCVs, also picked off a decent number of Marines. And then Savior needs to pull back a little bit and change his angle of attack, but he seems to be persisting with that. Flash, meanwhile, decided to counter by putting pressure on Savior, and I think he might be going straight for that 3rd gas expansion of Savior's, anticipating that that's where Savior would be likely to put it, realizing that Savior is not going to be able to inflict too much damage to the economy, but meanwhile it was important that he not be allowed to be pinned back in his base. And this is something very unusual from a Terran player. Usually when their bases are severely under attack by the Mutalists, the Terran player concentrates on defending their base as opposed to committing such a large force of troops to actually taking out that expansion. Savior is now being forced to retreat with his Mutalists. Flash has only got a group of Marines there, he's got no medics in support, so Savior should be able to defend that hatchery, and really that 3rd gas is a crucial thing. Flash has got about 6 Marines hammering away. Savior now coming in. I think Savior's going to be able to get back in time and take out those Marines, so he does get back in time and take out the Marines. That hatchery has received severe damage, so if Flash can get another group in, he'll be able to take that hatchery down. But this was crucial play, this is clever play by Flash. By sending that group of medic and Marines down towards Savior's base, he's bought himself the time to get his own base a little bit more under control and stave off Savior's harass. So Savior is putting the pressure on Flash right now. Again, I have to question Savior's decision on those 3 Sunkens earlier on. I still see them there not having been used. That hatchery has come under a little bit of fire and is slightly hurt. Savior's done a decent amount of damage to Flash. He's killed off about 3 turrets, he's killed a few SCVs, he's killed a decent amount of medic and Marines, so he has done a decent amount of damage, and more significantly, he's kept that 3rd expansion alive. Flash unable to kill it, unfortunately, and I think Flash maybe pulled back a little too early. Savior had committed, maybe he didn't want to lose too many of his forces to Savior, but I think if he'd stayed there and taken that expansion, that exchange would have worked properly. But if Savior committing himself to an attack here, he's going to take that bunker out. Certainly, Flash's forces are not home right now, and Savior's going to actually take this opportunity to sneak in, but Flash has got so much defenses in the way of turrets all over his base. Savior is going to be able to take those turrets down as well. He's going to lose a lot of Zerglings, but I don't think he's going to mind that. He's now trying to take down the SCV building, the supply depot. He's forced to come out with his, forced to pull his Mutalists out, and Saviour's Zerglings fighting a great running battle, killing turrets on their way. Flash, though, I think has had enough turrets in place and in play to allow himself to actually survive that attack without taking too much damage from it. Savior now coming in again, Flash trying to rebuild that bunker. He picks off the SCV. He's decided to build a few lurkers now, switching over from Mutalists. I think he could have made a few more Mutalists. I think has enough control in, but Savior decided to make the switch and decided to tech up, and he's done a great job so far of keeping Flash in his base and stopping Flash from really pushing at him or attacking him or doing too much damage for him. Savior now morphing to Hive, and it looks like Savior has taken a mile lead in this map. I hesitate to say, because a player of Flash's caliber, it's very difficult to say. But nevertheless, Savior's building is high. Flash is only at his third ranks. He has got a significant force of medic and marines. He's got about 2 control groups there built up. Savior doesn't seem to have a lot of forces on the ground per se, but as we all know how much of a master Savior is of fighting with the skeleton crew, Flash has also got his starport up, and I believe he's got the control tower up as well. Savior now building a second, more advanced sunken line at his main base. And really, for me, it's really going to come down to that third gas and that expansion. That's what Flash needs to take down. That's what Savior needs to defend, and that's what it's going to come down to ultimately. I think Flash is gearing up for a push here. He's waiting for the siege tank. He's keeping his medic and marines in play. I think he's waiting for a siege tank to come on and try to affect that push before Savior can get a defense. So Savior looks like he's going for another expansion at the 11 o'clock position, but that's been scouted by Flash. That's really clever by Flash. He knows how Savior likes to macro and expand, and he's not going to allow Savior to do that. I don't think Savior has enough forces on the ground to actually be able to do that. He picks off the SCV, but he needs to have a couple of lurkers in place there. Savior positioning his lurkers strategically on the map, and he's going to force Flash to wait for a science vessel before he can move those mech and marines out. And that's the other reason, even though Flash has got siege tanks out, he can't really move out because he knows that a player like Savior is going to have lurkers burrowed around the map, and if he moves out without a science vessel, he's just going to end up losing his troops to them. And if Savior really, I wonder where the Scourges are, because Savior should